Today on the Shrewd Dudes podcast, we are going to talk about a few different things. And by we, I mean just me again, because Danny has once again abandoned me so that he can have Christmas with his family. All joking aside, Danny, I'm sure, is having a wonderful time in Kelowna. And I am here in Calgary and freezing my tush off because it is a wind chill factor of minus 44. That being said, today we are going to talk about a few different things. First off, we're going to start the show, or I'm going to start the show with a interesting little segment called the Shrewd Dude Sing-Along, because we're going to sing along with a Biden Did You Know by the Babylon Bee. It's going to be fantastic. I hope you enjoy. We're going to talk about the Twitter files once again. Now the FBI paid Twitter to the tune of $3.5 million to censor conservatives. I'm going to talk about how an Arizona judge is allowing Kari Lake's challenge, or at least 2 out of the 10 challenges, to go forth to trial. So that should be fairly interesting. Title 42 potentially being removed. Alberta investigating the firearms ban of Canada and taking over jurisdiction, and should be an interesting battle with the federal government there. And then finally, to finish off the show, I'm going to talk about Father Frank Pavone, who was defrocked by the Vatican over his pro-life and pro-Republican stances. All of that and more on the Shrewd Dudes podcast. Alrighty. So we are once again back for another Tuesday News Day. I have not been at work in 2 days because it has been minus 43, 42 to 44 with wind chill. It's been just great. And yeah, my coworker texted me yesterday and he's like, "Why aren't you coming to work?" And I'm like, "Because my wife is a little sick and it's freezing." And he's like, "Pansy." And I'm like, "I shall take your insults and I shall rub your meanness all over my nice and warm face." He's like, "Fine." And they only worked until noon anyway, so in their faces, I got off easy. But with that, Danny will be back with us on Thursday for our douche of the year segments and end of the year kind of extravaganza palooza, entirely led, aside from the douche of the year, it's going to be entirely led by chat. It's going to be entirely led by participants in the video. So join in. We might even open up the second half of the video. We might even open up to our Shrewd Dudes guest channel, and we might just say, hey, if you want to join us, come on board and I'll manage it. I'll manage the stream. It's okay. We'll figure it out. All right. Before I jump into the stories, I'd like to remind you all that the Leafs have won. It was a 4-1 victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning because the Leafs are doing awesome this year. So hope that continues, and please, Lord, help us win a playoff series. Oh, alrighty. So let's jump into the first story of the day, which is the Shrewd Dudes sing-along of Biden Did You Know by the Babylon Bee. So I'm sorry if I go a little off tune because I'm not a professional singer, but I'm pretty good. So let's just go along with that. It's going to be fun. Trust me. Here we go. Biden, did you know that your policies would drive us underwater? Biden, did you know that your policies would trans our sons and daughters? Did you know that your policies will punish what is true? The church that you subscribe to does not subscribe to you. Biden, did you know? Biden, did you know that your baby boy made shady deals
news in Ukraine. Biden, did you know that your baby boy loves Parmesan and cocaine? Did you know that you shouldn't touch these women like you do? When you sniff that little girl's hair, it's borderline Me Too. The war will cease, the debt will increase, and the dead will vote again. The crime will leap, the dumb will speak, but we say come on land. Biden, did you know that your policies would bring about inflation? Biden, did you know that your policies would one day ruin the nation? Did you know that your policies make Harrod's reign seem bland? One day you'll have to answer to the great I am.
So great. Oh, that was fantastic. I thoroughly loved that Babylon Bee Shrewd Dude sing along. It was fantastic. I hope you did too. Send us other songs that you want us to do a Shrewd Dude sing along to, because I'm sure Danny would be open to this. This is hilarious. But let's actually jump into serious stories of the day. So, Elon Musk cast doubt on poll wanting him gone as Twitter head. The billionaire suggested the outcome of the vote he called might have been rigged. Elon Musk cast fresh doubt on a Twitter poll he initiated on the future leadership of the social media platform that ended up calling for him to hand over the top job. Nearly 58% of the more than 17 million Twitter accounts that responded to Mr. Musk's poll by the time it closed Monday morning voted for him to step down as head of Twitter. Mr. Musk, who has used Twitter polls to validate his statements or decisions, had said when he launched his week's poll that he would abide by the results. He hasn't addressed his plans for Twitter's leadership as of Tuesday late afternoon, but since voting closed, he has engaged with several Twitter users who have raised questions about the poll outcome. On Tuesday, he suggested the vote's outcome might have been affected by automated bot accounts on the platform that Mr. Musk had said he had begun to tame since buying Twitter in late October in a deal valued at, of course, $44 billion. And of course, he was reacting to a poll conducted by New York-based market research firm HarrisX that said a majority of Twitter users in the United States wanted Mr. Musk to remain at the top of Twitter. Company said it asked 1,028 adults to respond, amongst them 429 Twitter users, and the poll had a margin of error of 3 percentage points amongst the general pop and 5 percentage points amongst Twitter users. Interesting. Suggests that we might have an itsy-bitsy bot problem on Twitter, he tweeted in response. Yeah, Twitter still has a bot problem. It's not nearly as serious as it was, and Twitter is so much better. Like, I think Elon was a little silly in initiating this poll. Like, he wasn't silly in initiating the poll. He was silly in that he carried over the poll and said, I will abide by the results. That was foolish. That was foolish. Because now he'll just walk it back and then everybody's going to call him out for his hypocrisy. Which, of course, is nonsense. Because he has every right to lead Twitter. He's done a great job leading Twitter. Yeah, there are some minor niggles. But Twitter as a whole is much better. Also, Elon, I know you're probably not listening, but if you are, where is Twitter confirmation and Twitter Blue for Android users? Come on. Bring it. Bring it. I want my blue check mark just to laugh at them. But this Twitter poll was silly. Like, most of the people that are currently on Twitter, which has significantly changed in the past year. Since Elon took over, the rate at which you could say things which were previously banned by Twitter, of course, is immensely increased. You can say things that other people can find offensive. Like, you can say ivermectin or groomer, when you can say learn to code. All these phrases that were banned in Twitter 1.0, and now in Twitter 2.0, you can say them. And Twitter is a much greater platform for free speech and is encouraging more across the aisle dialogue. Even though leftists are terrible at dialogue because, let's face it, they don't have any evidence, they just blather on. Like, I had a conversation with a guy that said that meta-analyses are terrible because meta-analyses are inherently flawed. And it's like, well, it's like, hold on. Meta-analyses are better than a single study. And he's like, provide a single study. And I'm like, here's a meta-analysis of several different randomized clinical trials. He's like, don't provide a meta-analysis, provide a single study. And I'm like, well, this study has 15 and this study has 18. And you can say those things now. You can have those arguments. And typically, of course, the way that debates work and the way that we've always kind of addressed debates here at the Shrewd News Podcast is you're not going to convince the person that you're arguing, at least very rarely. However, you have a decent chance if you present a good, solid, evidentiary-based argument that's not based on emotion, you have a decent chance of having somebody who's on the fence looking at your argument and say, that's actually a good presentation of opinion and a decent representation of facts. I like that opinion. That actually makes a lot of sense. And have them change their mind. Having a debate with someone is rarely about changing their mind on a subject. Changing their mind, like even the Steven Crowder changed my mind. There are a couple people that have changed their minds, but most people are still very staunchly in one opinion or the other. And those that are watching are like, I haven't thought about it that way. That's a good thing. That's why we want conversation across the aisle. That's why Twitter 2.0 is far better. Because you can have these conversations and people can read the conservative point of view, which was, of course, censored as of even 2 months ago. So, good job, Elon. Do not leave, because we need you to call out the crap that the federal government did in the past few years, especially this new bombshell by the FBI Twitter files, that the FBI paid Twitter $3.5 million to do its bidding. Taxpayer money was used for processing requests from the Bureau amid Hunter Biden censorship scandals. Anger grows over secret state censorship of the American people. So emails show that Twitter Deputy Counsel Jim Baker, we talked about him before, met with feds for top secret meeting a day before he said Hunter laptops should be banned. In response to the latest Twitter files dump, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy said this is going to be a much bigger situation than people realize. Earlier, it was revealed that former FBI lawyer turned Twitter General Counsel Jim Baker helped to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story. So, a Twitter employee wrote in February 2020 email the company's safety, content, and law enforcement had collected $3.4 million in less than 2 years from the FBI for law enforcement-related projects. The email, which was revealed by journalist Michael Schellenberger, stated that Scale had instituted a reimbursement program in exchange for devoting staff hours to processing requests from the FBI. The emails was entitled, "Run the Business We Made Money." The accounts the FBI has Twitter to ban were largely linked to conservatives and foreign influence operations. Twitter initially believed the Hunter Biden laptop story was Russian disinformation. It was revealed Monday that Jim Baker, Twitter's top lawyer and ex-FBI general counsel, personally intervened to say that it should be banned. So this highlights more of what we knew, so that's good. But the big thing is that not only was there collusion between the FBI and Twitter to get rid of accounts, to ban accounts, to censor, to shadow ban, all those stuff, which is bad. There wasn't just collusion and it was like a favor going the other way. The FBI paid off a private entity using taxpayer dollars to harm taxpayers. Honestly, the FBI, we've said it before, it's no longer drain the swamp, it's get out of here. Revamp the entire agency, demolish it down to the foundation, hire entirely new people. The FBI is a shill for the establishment. It was absolutely hilarious and laughable when over the weekend, I think it was on Monday actually, and there were people who be like, oh yes, it was Trump's FBI that censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. It was Trump's FBI that did all these things. So it wasn't like a Democrat operation. It was Trump. He just mismanaged the FBI. And it's like, no, the FBI was never in service to Trump. The FBI hated Trump, and they were out to get him in every way possible. Now, Trump, of course, didn't do great with his hires, but when you're hiring from the swamp, you're still going to get a swamp creature, even if you nominate one of the better ones. So it was all a sham. The FBI is a corrupt shill of an organization, and the corruption doesn't stop there. It probably goes all the way up the chain of command to the DOJ. So, unfortunately, with the way things are right now, with the Republican leadership only taking control of the House and still having the Democrats in control of the Senate and the presidency, very little will happen. But we do hope that when the Republicans' election forthcoming and issues hopefully investigated, we're going to talk about that in a bit. But yes, if they take over in 2024, then there will be serious questions about the legitimacy of the FBI and whether or not, as an organization, it needs to be removed. So I'm in favor of being removed. Let's just say that. I'm definitely in favor of being removed. The FBI needs to be completely scrapped. It's a joke of an organization. But speaking of a joke of an organization, and something which should have been removed a long time ago, but unfortunately the Democrats were in power, let's talk about the January 6th committee. So the January 6th committee formally accuses Donald Trump of 4 crimes. January 6th Select Committee on Monday voted to formally accuse Donald Trump of 4 crimes, including assisting an insurrection and his bid to subvert the transfer of presidential power to Joe Biden. The panel contended that its evidence proved Trump provided aid and comfort to a mob that was ransacking the Capitol in service of his attempts to reverse his loss in 2020. It also said Trump could be charged with obstructing Congress's January 6th joint session, conspiracy to make false statements to the National Archive, and conspiracy to defraud the United States. Ooh, stupid. The panel has long contended that Trump broke the law, but its new report, which the committee voted to release but has not yet become public, is expected to add vivid new details to that effort, particularly about the cast of enablers who facilitated Trump's gambit, from Republican members of Congress to a team of lawyers pushing fringe legal theories to shadowy operatives awash in conspiracies. Well, actually, they weren't fringe legal theories. They were valid legal theories, valid legal principles, but a lot of conservatives didn't like to support them because they were legal theories that were problematic in that in the future they could be used to have the president retain power. Now, you all know, anybody who's been watching this show, that we refer to what happened in that year as the muffin sale. The muffin sale was illegitimate. It was not safe. It was not secure. It was not fair. There were a whole host of problems that have gone sky high. We have an entire special about it. You can check it out on Rumble, YouTube, and BitChute. But that's neither here nor there. So, muffin sale, super shady. What happened on January 6th? We've also gone over this. It was 99.8% a peaceful protest, 0.2% a semi-violent riot. But even though 95% of the people that went into the Capitol building that day were ushered in by police, they are not insurrectionists, they are not terrorists, they are not traitors. They're simply, as Tim Pool says, MAGA meemaws. And MAGA meemaws, if they're ushered in by police, they've committed no crime, they're just guilty of being slightly foolish. And they've been punished by solitary confinement and having the book thrown at them every which way to Sunday. What Trump did on January 6th was not an insurrection. It was not incitement. Trump invited everyone to come to a massive protest in which hundreds of thousands of people attended to try and ascertain and showcase how people felt about the outcome of the muffin sale, because the muffin sale was super shady. That being said, did Trump offer in any way to incite, or what was the exact phraseology that they used? Aid and comfort to a mob that was ransacking the Capitol. What did Trump do to the mob? He told them to go home. He told them to peacefully and patriotically assemble.
Please, can you tuck me in though?
Okay. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. Brief interruption. But, no. Trump didn't incite anything. He didn't give comfort to a mob. He told them to go home. He told them to peacefully assemble. There were inciting factors. The inciting factors were likely from people like Ray Epps, or insiders, or FBI interference. I don't know what the term is. Foreign actors, red flag guys, false flag guys. I don't even know. Like, these may be labeled a conspiracy, but the truth is the most prominent player, and in terms of inciting the January 6th events, was someone named Ray Epps. And Ray Epps has not been charged with a crime because more than likely he's an FBI informant and an FBI insider. And he triggered that mob, and he should be going to jail for it. But he won't, because he's part of the FBI, and the FBI is in alignment with the establishment, and they're all shills and crooks and communists. Maybe not communists, but, establishment corrupt shills. Commie bastards. Because they're in service to the Democrats. The Democrats are practically communists at this point, let's face it. But, so, no matter what crime they present to Trump, Trump did not commit a crime on January 6th. Trump did not commit a crime during the call that he had with the Ukrainian president several years ago when they first tried to impeach him. The 2 impeachment hearings were entirely a witch hunt. So was the Mar-a-Lago raid. Trump's not perfect, but the things in which the media and the Democrats and the establishment are coming after him for is nonsense, and they only want to prosecute and go after him because they do not want him to run. But at this point, I don't really want him to run either. He's unfortunately too engulfed by his own ego. I like Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis is a far smarter candidate. He's a far wiser candidate, and he's less trapped up by his own thoughts of self-importance. So my vote is for DeSantis. I'm DeSantis 2024 all the way, and very little at this point can change that. I know Danny is pro-Trump, but I think we're going to get him. I think we're going to change his mind because I think he's being a little foolish about this. But hopefully someone else we can change their mind is this Arizona judge. Arizona judge rules that 2 of Kari Lake's election challenge claims can go to trial. She took to Twitter after the Arizona judge ruling on the election lawsuit, writing, "This is far from over." An Arizona judge ruled that 2 out of the 10 claims brought by former Republican gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake challenging Democrat Governor-elect Katie Hobbs' election victory can go to trial. Maricopa County Superior Judge Peter Thompson dismissed 8 out of 10 counts in Lake's election lawsuit, ruling they did not fall under the proper criteria to bring election challenges under Arizona law. Let's also be honest. During the muffin sale, the trials or the court cases that were dismissed not because of lack of evidence, because of lack of standing, and that is why a lot of the issues in the 2020 muffin sale did not go through. And anyone that says they were dismissed by lack of evidence they're just ignorant to the evidence. Last bit of a thing I'm going to throw out there. The 2 counts that Judge Thompson ruled can go to trial involves printers malfunctioning on election day and ballot chain of custody. Lake claimed printers that malfunctioned were not certified and had vulnerabilities that made them susceptible to hacking. She also claimed that printers malfunctioned because of intentional action. Judge Thompson and Lake must prove at trial that someone interfered with the printers in violation of Arizona law, and the interference caused her to lose votes, that those lost votes affected the outcome of the election. As far as the chain of custody issue, Lake claimed employees of the county's ballot contractor violated the county election manual when they added ballots of family members and also failed to secure the inbound receipt of delivery. Judge Thompson said that whether the county complied with its own manual and applicable statutes is a dispute of fact rather than one of law. A list of the 8 dismissed counts include freedom of speech, invalid signatures. This is a big one. How on earth did you dismiss the invalid signatures on mail-in ballots if you do not have proper ID or signature verification, at very minimum, signature verification on mail-in ballots? You cannot guarantee that you are going to have a proper muffin sale. You cannot. It's a joke. We had this issue back in 2020. The muffin sale had problems because election issues were left uninvestigated and unobserved because they just didn't care. They're like, yeah, we want every ballot to count. It's like the conservatives are like, well, what if it's legitimate or not? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's legitimate. Every ballot must be counted. Count 5, equal protection. Count 6, due process. Count 7, secrecy. Count 8, incorrect certification. That's also a problem. Count 9, inadequate remedy. I don't know what that is. Count 10, constitutional rights. So a 2-day trial will take place before January 2nd. Hobbs, Arizona's current Secretary of State, and County Recorder Stephen Richer will be required to testify. No exact date for the trial was set, but Judge Thompson asked that all parties submit a list with the anticipated time required for the proceedings no later than 12 p.m. on December 20th, which is, of course, today. So, Carrie Lake, our election case is going to trial. Katie Hobbs' attempt to have her case thrown out failed. She will have to take the stand and testify. Buckle up, America. This is far from over. It's a good first step. I don't think it went far enough, but at least they're being given the chance to prove this stuff in the court of law. It's not being dismissed on standing. The judge is allowing it to be presented. Kick her ass, Lake. Kick her ass. Make her testify. Show that this muffin sale of 2022 in Arizona and Maricopa County was exceptionally illegitimate. Kick her ass. I really hope that something comes of this. I would love nothing more than Carrie Lake to become the governor of Arizona and fix the crap out of the election issues in Maricopa County and in Arizona. So, go Lake. It's far from over. Power to you. Let's say a prayer. Something that we should also, maybe be saying a prayer for is about illegal immigration going into the United States. Title 42, emergency in El Paso as Trump border policy in limbo, from the BBC. The Texas border city of El Paso is grappling with a mounting humanitarian crisis as the Trump-era policy hangs in the balance, leaving many migrants unsheltered in the cold night. Cold night. It's minus 30 here in Calgary. Doesn't even include the windshield, so don't give me that crap. Cold night, BBC. Title 42 gives the government power to automatically expel undocumented migrants. Good. It has blocked thousands of people from crossing the U.S.-Mexico frontier. The policy was due to expire on the 21st of December, but has won a temporary reprieve from the Supreme Court. On Monday, Chief Justice John Roberts temporarily blocked its termination pending a ruling on the emergency appeal from some Republican-led states who have asked for the policy to remain in place. The court's intervention, however, has meant little on the streets of El Paso, where shelters and humanitarian services are already been overburdened, with weary migrants left sleeping rough in bitterly cold nights. In central El Paso, early on Tuesday afternoon, dozens of migrants were at the city's main Greyhound bus terminal, including women and young children sleeping on the pavement, where the majority were Nicaraguan and Venezuelan citizens of countries throughout Latin America were present. Citizens of countries throughout Latin America were present as well. So, then they detail some of the issues. These people should not be allowed in the country. If they actually have some standing of a case for refugee status or for claiming asylum, then let them claim it on the way. Invoke the stay in Mexico policy. Invoke the policy in Mexico. The Mexicans don't want these people either. But the Democrats continue to want to invoke and encourage more illegal immigration because that gives them a greater voter base. The same thing occurs here in Canada through Roxham Road, which Rebel News discussed, and has actually cost Canadians, taxpayers, to the amount of about $212 billion over the past few years. So illegal immigration is also an issue in Canada. It's just not as severe because fewer Mexicans and Central Americans want to come to Canada, where it is minus 44. Because that's difficult to deal with when you're used to plus 44. Because that's a big change. Ooh. But, this is, why would you ever get rid of Title 42? Title 42 takes illegal immigrants. If you catch them, kick them. These people are here illegally. They have committed crimes. They are much more likely to commit crimes in the future. So why on earth would you keep them here? Why on earth would you allow them to continue to stay in this country? Or not in this country, in the States. Because we're in Canada, which is a hole. We've made that very clear. Canada is terrible. We're hoping that Alberta sees the light and moves to the States, because otherwise Canada is screwed. Alberta has the one saving grace of Danielle Smith as his premier, but if Alberta does the really stupid thing and kicks out Danielle Smith from office because, oh, right, doesn't matter. Bunch of fools. We want to continue with conservative values. We want to continue standing up to the crazy lunatics of the NDP. Keep Danielle Smith in office. Thankfully, her polls board is rising. And we will be campaigning heavily for Danielle Smith in the upcoming elections period. But that'll be, of course, coming in 2023, and we'll talk about that on Thursday. But illegal immigration costs the American citizens, what, $2.5 billion a year in taxpayer money? Stop it. The wall should have been built. They should have been kicked out as soon as they answered. You have to be able to process the legitimate refugee and asylum claims, and everyone else who's just coming to the United States and wants to skip the line because they're a bunch of selfish, egotistical bastards encouraged and egged on by the Democratic Party who wants a consistent voter base to give them free stuff, then kick them out. Send them back to Mexico, send them back to Nicaragua, send them back to Venezuela. Venezuela just won the World Cup. Why do you want to leave Venezuela? Maybe because America is easily one of the best countries in the world, if not the best. That's why you want to go there. But if you want to go there, then you want to be a law-abiding citizen. You want to go there properly, legally, follow the law, follow the principles, do what is right. Don't jump the line because you've been told by others that you'll get free stuff and that you're an entitled little dick. Just saying. Speaking of entitled little dicks, let's talk about Trudeau. So, Alberta takes back jurisdiction on firearms, says Bill C-21 amendments go too far. Chief Firearms Officer warned Ottawa's recent amendments to Bill C-21 would criminalize many law-abiding firearms owners across the country, and the attempted confiscation would be wasteful. Attorney General Tyler Shandro said the province would assume jurisdiction on firearms-related criminal code cases. Rather than relinquishing the duty to the federal government, the province has made this decision because they believe that Trudeau's firearms seizure goes too far. From Danielle Smith on Twitter, we've seen the federal government go even further than we imagined. There is a need for us to take over this jurisdiction. At Shandro, Minister of Justice. We don't usually like When was this video? December 15th. What the heck was this? He's wearing is that him wearing a mustache? No mustache. Mustache. As Alberta's Attorney General, I've directed the Alberta Crown Prosecution Service to take over the handling of charges involving the Firearms Act starting January 1st, said Justice Minister Tyler Shandro. We've seen the federal government go even further than we could have imagined. With the proposed amendments to Bill C-21, these amendments ban hundreds of new models of legally owned shotguns and rifles. He condemned his federal counterpart of targeting hunters, farmers, and sport shooters who collectively own hundreds of thousands of firearms that could soon be prohibited. Ottawa's actions will criminalize hundreds of thousands of Canadians overnight, the majority of which reside in Western Canada, and it's becoming increasingly clear that the federal Liberal government is pursuing a strategy to ban all legal firearms ownership. Alberta's Chief Firearms Officer warned Ottawa's recent amendments to Bill C-21 would criminalize many law-abiding firearms owners across the country, and the attempted confiscation would be wasteful. And dangerous. Because it's kind of dangerous to take firearms from legally abiding citizens. Because they don't want to give you your firearms, because you're a freaking tyrant. Because that's what Justin Trudeau is. I literally had to be a tyrant. There's a great quote by Jordan Peterson. The incompetence of the Liberals is a blessing in disguise, because it makes it harder to enact the tyranny that they want. And that's very true. So I'm glad that Tyler Shandro is doing this. We've made our opinion on Tyler Shandro very clear. Tyler Shandro should be in jail for his actions when he was the public health minister. He was a terrible public health minister. He did terrible things to the province of Alberta in coordination and in conjunction with Dean Henshaw, who should also be in jail. Jason Kenney is also very culpable of that. All three of them should be prosecuted for crimes against the Albertan people. That being said, it's very clear that Tyler Shandro is he'll follow those in authority to him. He'll follow whatever they say. He followed it when it was Kenney. He'll follow it now that it's Smith. So I'm glad that he's following the instructions of Smith and not going out on his own. And that this firearms ban by the federal Liberals goes way too far. And it's good that we're standing up against it. We should have stood up long ago. The Kenny government did not do enough against this, and I'm hoping that we can actually have some constitutional jurisdiction on this, maybe even an invocation of the Sovereignty Act to counter the Canadian government overreach in unconstitutionality of their decrees. It's a long word, somewhat difficult. I could say it though, because I'm a man. But like my family, we have a gun which we didn't register years ago. We use it only for gopher hunting and to kill the occasional rabbit. We are not a danger to society, despite what Trudeau thinks. My friends that go hunting, he just bagged a deer 3 or 4 weeks ago. He is not a danger to society. My cousins who have firearms on their property that go hunting. My uncle goes hunting. All of these people are legally abiding firearm owners, and the federal liberals, of course, mainly Trudeau, wants to take away guns from them, not because it's a safety issue. He wants to take away their guns because he wants a disarmed populace, because a disarmed populace is how you invoke tyranny with little to no opposition. Look at Australia. Australia did not resist at all when the COVID mandates, when the COVID tyranny came, because they couldn't. The Canadians barely resisted because there's a mentality of, yes, government, okay, government, I will pledge my undying allegiance to you, government, yes, sir. Because we are subservient people. They say we're a polite people. We're not a polite people. We're an incompetent, subservient, compliant people. That's another reason why we like the States. The States may be in your face, but they are all about personal liberty and rights and fighting for what is true, even though you may be punished for it. Like, that's why we're so active in the things that we're active for pro-life, for pro-gun, that we're conservative. These people yell at us, they scream at us, they swear at us. We do not care. Because we are doing what is right, and doing what is right means the consequences be damned. And the final story is all about doing what is right, consequences be damned. Let's talk about Father Frank Pavone. Vatican defrocks pro-Trump priest, activist for anti-abortion posts. Let's be honest, BBC, it's pro-life. Come on, you're a joke. The Vatican has defrocked a US-based priest for blasphemous social media posts and activism in support of former President Donald Trump. Letter to U.S. bishops from the Vatican's United States ambassador accused the priest, Frank Pavone, of persistent disobedience. In 2016, Mr. Pavone, who sits on the anti-abortion group Priests for Life, put an aborted fetus on the altar and broadcast it online. His defrocking cannot be appealed. Defrocking, the process of being reduced to a lay state in which clerical status is taken away from a priest, is amongst the harshest sanctions available in the Catholic Church's canon law. Mr. Pavone has been an outspoken anti-abortion and pro-Trump activist for more than a decade, setting the stage for repeated clashes with church officials in various dioceses. He frequently comments on U.S. politics through his social media platforms. After the 2020 election, for example, the diocese condemned Mr. Pavone's use of social media to call into question the results of the 2020 election, which Mr. Trump lost, saying that his political positions weren't consistent with Catholic teachings. In a statement accompanying the letter announcing his defrocking, which was first obtained by Catholic news agency Archbishop Christophe Pierre, Vatican's ambassador to the United States, wrote that Mr. Pavone had multiple opportunities to submit himself to the authority of his diocesan bishop. It was determined that Father Pavone had no reasonable justification for his actions. On Twitter, Mr. Pavone, who now lives in Florida, remained defiant and vowed to continue his anti-abortion activism. Additionally, he made comments and remains an ardent supporter of Mr. Trump and wears a red Make America Great Again cap in his profile picture, along with an image of him beside the former president. Quote from Frank: "In every profession, including the priesthood, if you defend the unborn, you will be treated like them. The only difference is that when we are aborted, we will continue to speak loud and clear." In a subsequent video, he said the war on abortions would continue, and he accused the Catholic Church of cancel culture. Good on Father Pavone. I'm usually not a huge fan of the Catholic Church, but dang, Father Pavone is one of the good ones. He is a very, very good father. I have supported Priests for Life quite a bit in the past. Not on the show, but in other platforms. And of course, here at the Shrewd Dudes, we are massive pro-life activists. That's why we support the work of the the Canadian Center for Bioethical Reform, Choice for Two, the Calgary Pro-Life, no, not pro-life, the Canadian Calgary Crisis Pregnancy Center. We're also huge advocates for LifeSite News and other organizations, that Human Defense Initiative. There are many, many organizations that several of them people that we know, like Jojo Ruba, founded. What Father Frank did was right. He defended the unborn, even if it got him punished. Was it questionable? Was it kind of out there to put an unborn baby on the altar? Yes, it was. Was it the right thing to do? Yes, it was. It wasn't blasphemous. It wasn't sacrilegious. It called out the hypocrisy of the church in North America and in Western society, which is true, of ignoring the abortion issue. Why? Because it's easy. Because it's something you can do that you won't get laughed at. You won't get accosted. You won't get harassed. But it's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is stand up for the innocent who cannot defend themselves, and that is one of the primary roles of the church. For widows and orphans in their distress. How does abortion not qualify for that? The church have been cowards on this issue. And Father Frank was one of the best. And his defrocking is a scar. It is a blemish on the Catholic Church, and it should haunt them for a very long time. I know there's no legal method to end a defrocking, but this must be rescinded. It must be. Sorry, when I get ranty, I get thirsty. But everything that he did was because the churches need to be more political. Yes, I don't exactly condone a church or a pastor endorsing a political candidate. I don't think that's correct, because the political candidate is not perfect. Political candidates are not entirely one with church doctrine. So I don't think it's a good idea to support a political candidate. I do think it's a good idea to say, this is where the church stands on this issue. This is where we stand on this issue, and this is where we stand on this issue. And we're not going to support a political party. We're going to say the current party in power, or the current policies that want to be supported by one political party, are evil. Like, you look at the political stance of the Canadian Liberals, or even the Canadian Conservatives for that matter. The Canadian Liberal Party wants abortion up until birth, federally funded, taxpayer all the way. The Canadian Conservatives, the majority of them oppose gender-selective abortion, but only 70%. The Canadian Conservative Party is a joke compared to the Republicans. The Republicans have been doing the right thing for a lot longer in the pro-life issue. But the churches, especially here in Canada, have been quiet, they have been cowardly, and they have been ignorant. They're like, if we stay out of this and just pray, then we'll achieve the goals we want. As long as we pray hard enough, but don't say anything publicly, because if we say anything publicly, then people will come after us. You cowardly little shites. I'm not apologizing for that. If you refuse to speak out and talk about the issues of the modern era because you think that you're going to be condemned and that you're going to be attacked by modern society, who gives a damn? If you're attacked by modern society, as Bernie Sanders says, that's a good thing. It is a good thing. Christ himself said that we will be rejected. We will be cast aside by modern society. They will turn their face from us. Why? Because they look upon the actions of those who try and mimic the righteousness of God, and their own conscience and their own guilt cannot acknowledge their own sin, and they must look away, for they cannot be in the presence of God. They feel shame for the evil that they are perpetuating. And the church should feel great shame in the cowardice in that what they are refusing to say is allowing this to happen. Canada has taxpayer-funded abortions for all 9 months because the church has said jack shite. Because they've been silent. I know that many people are like, oh, we don't want to become the Republican Party. We don't want to become the churches in the United States. I admit, that's one thing I don't like about churches in the United States. They put patriotism a line just a bit lower than godliness. I don't like that. We must be in alignment with what is right, and that doesn't necessarily mean that lines up with nationalism. It doesn't mean it lines up with American values, because some modern American values are evil. It's good to support your nation, yes, but only when your nation is doing right, and right now America is not. Neither is Canada. Canada is far worse. But we've gone over that many, many times. So, the Catholic Church, in defrocking Frank Pavone, every conservative political activist, every priest that stands up for pro-life values in America should be publicly calling out the Vatican for what the Vatican is doing here is wrong. They're like, oh, he's publicly supporting Trump. I'm not a huge fan of a priest fully supporting a cabinet or a politician. Trump was a good president, but he wasn't a godly president. I will admit that. He wasn't godly, but he was good. Now, for you to be actively supporting from the pulpit and saying, oh yes, all my parishioners should vote for this candidate, that's wrong. Yes, it is. But saying we should vote for politicians which are pro-life, which are pro-family, which are pro-religious freedom and pro-God, those are things in which we should be supporting, that are anti the LGBTQ mob, that are pro-school choice, that you can choose what you teach. There are many other things. And then it's like, well, if we actually look at these policies, these are what's godly and this is what's not. One party, wink wink, is much closer to that than the other. We all know that's the Republican Party, but of course, churches would lose their tax-exempt status if they promoted it. That's probably why the Vatican went against him, because they would lose their tax-exempt status for openly promoting a political candidate. But if you're more afraid of losing your tax-exempt status than you are of preaching biblical truth, then you need to reevaluate your life choices and whether or not you're actually a Christian who stands for what is right instead of someone who is a people pleaser. Because if you're unwilling to stand for what is right and only saying, well, we'll lose our tax-exempt status so the church won't make as much money, who the hell should care about that? God will provide. If you are serving God, God will not let you starve. So we all need to reevaluate where we're coming at this from. We all need to say, hey, I've been cowardly. I haven't been standing up as much as I should for the truth. And I need to be doing what is right, even if I get punished for it, all the more. Have heart, have courage, and give it your all. Stand up for what is right, even if you stand alone. That's going to be where I end the show today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're following us on our platforms over there, such as YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute, YouTube, if you figure your crap out, we'll post again. I can't post again if we're only getting one view on each video. I can't. There's a problem, a glitch in your system. You got to fix it. And I stopped sending you the money, so can't upload any serious videos to you anyway. If you're following us on our text platforms, such as Facebook, Getter, Twitter, and Parler, you know what to do. You know how to use those platforms. Like, share, comment. Same goes for video. And on Thursday, of course, we are going to have our douche of the year. It's going to be between Volodymyr Zelensky and Justin Trudeau. Fairly certain Trudeau is going to win, but we have to put in a competitor. and World War III enthusiast Volodymyr Zelensky is a pretty good run. So that's going to be on Thursday, and then the second part of the show, I'm going to talk about it with Danny. We may or may not open it up to have people watch it with us. We'll see, and we'll kind of go from there. And so, before I forget, we like to remind you at the Shrewd Dudes podcast, why be rude when you can be shrewd? Have a great night, everybody. We will see you on Thursday for a Douche of the Year Thursday live stream extravaganza. So, tell your friends, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to get at it. We're going to go hard. We're going to have a lot of fun. So, we'll see you then. Have a great night. And as always, God bless.